Have you ever stopped to realize that the biggest battles aren't the ones we see every day, but the ones quietly raging inside someone's mind? The strangest part is that, most of the time, the person seems fine on the outside. And here is the paradox. People smiling can be fighting inner wars you wouldn't even imagine. It's uncomfortable to admit, but all of us have probably been close to someone in distress without even noticing. Maybe a friend who suddenly pulled away, a coworker who started slipping at work, or even a family member who changed moods overnight. The shock hits when you realize the signs were there all along, right in front of you, but you just didn't know how to read them. Now, what if I told you there's a way to spot these signs and take real action, even if you're not a psychologist or a doctor? Throughout this video, you'll discover how to recognize when someone is in crisis, what steps to take to help, and most importantly, which resources can literally save a life. And the biggest surprise? With small intentional actions, you can be the difference between despair and hope. Chapter 1. What a mental health crisis is. Many people mistake a mental health crisis for just a bad day, but it's so much more than that. A crisis happens when the mind loses the balance it needs to handle life's basic demands. It's like the brain is silently screaming for help. Outsiders might not notice right away, but inside, the person feels like they can't carry their own weight. This is when everyday life starts to crumble. Imagine someone who's always been reliable at work suddenly unable to even get out of bed to shower. This isn't laziness or a lack of willpower. It's a clear sign that something bigger is going on. It's as if the mind pulled the emergency brake because it simply couldn't take it anymore. Suddenly, even small tasks like replying to a message or making a cup of coffee feel impossible. The tricky part is that often, the person in crisis doesn't even realize how serious things are. To them, it may just feel like stress, fatigue, or a rough patch. But an observant person can pick up the signs that reveal the real depth of the situation. And this is exactly why knowing the main warning signs is so important. Chapter 2. Main warning signs. When someone starts slipping into a crisis. Their body and behavior usually send signals long before it becomes critical. It's like a silent alarm that only those paying attention can hear. They might sleep too much or hardly at all, experience sudden mood swings, or withdraw from activities and people that once mattered. These small details, when seen together, point to something serious. Another key signal is how the person relates to their own body and appearance. Suddenly they stop taking care of themselves, lose or gain significant weight quickly, or have no energy even for basic tasks. This isn't carelessness, it's the mind screaming for help. Think of someone who used to get dressed up to go out, but now avoids even looking in the mirror. That's a warning that shouldn't be ignored. Perhaps the most impactful signs come from words and thoughts. Comments about life being meaningless, expressions of hopelessness, or disjointed ideas, like believing everyone is watching, are clear red flags. Recognizing these signs requires sensitivity because they often show up disguised in everyday behavior. And once you notice them in time, it opens the door for direct action to help. Chapter 3. How to help someone in crisis. The first reaction for many people when they see someone in crisis is to offer quick advice, or like it'll be okay, or just think positive. But that rarely helps because someone in distress doesn't need a magic fix, they need real presence. The key is creating a safe space where the person feels they can speak without judgment. Sometimes just sitting nearby and listening can be more powerful than any speech. An experienced mentor would say, ask open-ended questions, not to get answers, but to show genuine care.
Instead of, are you okay?
Which often gets a default yes. Try asking, how have you been feeling these past few days? That small shift makes a person open up more deeply. And when they speak, your job is to absorb, not interrupt. Listen, understand, not just to respond. But helping isn't just about listening. It's also important to guide them toward concrete safety steps. Ask gently, but directly if they've considered professional help, or if there's someone they trust they can talk to. And never leave them alone in moments of risk. Human presence at this point can literally be a shield against irreversible decisions. When things get out of control, it's time to turn to emergency resources. Chapter 4. Emergency resources. In a crisis, every second counts, which is why knowing emergency resources is so crucial. Many people hesitate to call for help because they think they're bothering anyone or that it's not that bad. But the truth is, when a life is at risk, there's no such thing as overreacting. Calling emergency services can make the difference between tragedy and a chance to start over. In the US, dialing 911 is the quickest way to get professional help on the scene. For intense emotional distress, there are dedicated lines like 1-800-273-TALK or text-based crisis services for those who can't speak. Other countries have their own emergency contacts. Just knowing them ahead of time is like having a fire extinguisher. You may never need it, but if you do, you'll be grateful. It's also important to remember that supporting someone in crisis can be exhausting. That's why learning beforehand, talking with mental health professionals, or taking mental health first aid courses can prepare you to act confidently. You don't have to be born knowing how to handle these situations. Anyone can learn. And by preparing, you protect not only the person in need, but also yourself for future challenges. Conclusion. Now that you know the signs of a mental health crisis and how to respond, let me ask you something. How many times have you ignored changes in someone close because you thought it is no big deal? Maybe today you realize that silence, isolation, or unusual behavior carried far more weight than it seemed. The point is, this knowledge only matters if you put it into action. Next time you notice someone changing suddenly, don't hesitate to reach out. Ask, listen, be present. Your actions could be the difference between someone losing themselves in despair or finding their way back to life. And if it's you who needs help, remember, seeking support is not weakness, it's courage. Before you go, I want to challenge you. How many lives could you impact simply by being more aware and prepared from now on? Think about it. And if this video made sense to you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep learning with me, because your growth could be exactly the inspiration someone else needs to survive and start over.